Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Wharton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset, along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Wharton.
Hello and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 163. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm here with today's special guest, Mridu Parikh. Mridu is a pro at aligning business goals with structure to simply get more done in less time without the stress. A national speaker and productivity and organization consultant, she helps clarify priorities and make the best use of your time with powerful yet simple tools. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Holly. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. I love organization stuff, and I'm super excited to talk about this. So, welcome. So, Mridu, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and your business journey and how you got to where you are today? Because you've got a great story about how you got involved in this whole organization stuff.
Yeah, well, actually, I am one of those people who was born a little bit, I'd say, pretty organized. I had that trait, that gene. I have these two ridiculously over-the-top organized parents. So when I was growing up, they kind of set the foundation for myself and my brother. Although, of course, I had no idea at that time, just growing up in your household, and I had no idea how that would sort of pave the way for my future. But however, I'd say even though I was relatively organized and things ran smoothly, I did meet a big hiccup or a big challenge in my life, and that was when I met my husband, my boyfriend at that time. We met, married, and got pregnant within 8 months.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that is such major lifestyle changes in such a short period of time.
It was crazy. So we moved in together. Before I even, wrote my wedding thank you cards, we were having baby showers. Mm-hmm. We were in a small apartment in New York. I switched jobs, and then we had a big move. I lived in New York my entire life. We moved from New York to Nashville. No friends, no family, and I was pregnant again. It was ridiculous. So we moved again. I was working a 12-hour corporate job. I had my little son. I was pregnant. And so during that time is when my life just fell completely chaotic. Like I went from my little organization, my piles, and everything, knowing where I was, to complete and utter chaos. Mm-hmm. And the series of life events just rocked my world. And luckily, however, at that time, I was able to take a step back from working. I left my corporate job. And it was the first time I felt like I was able to breathe. Mm. And that was when, my husband and I, we just took a step back, and I was like, whoa, I've got to take control because this is crazy. And that's really when I sort of made this decision of I've got to get myself back in order. I've got to be a better role model. This isn't the type of mom I want to be, a better wife, a better daughter. I knew I wanted to get back to work, but I felt like I had to get all this stuff in place. So as I started kind of studying and organizing and reading books and blogs and training and just seeing my life transform, it actually sort of paved the way for my business. And after a while, after seeing my life completely change from chaos to simplicity and productivity and organization, I jumped into that career as professional organizer. And I loved it. I worked in home for many years, very successful, and then moved my local business to online training and coaching to teach organization all around the world with workshops. And now I have expanded my services after building my own business for so many years and seeing all the systems and processes and structure I had to put into my business. Now I've expanded my services to other entrepreneurs, to small businesses, to help them with managing their time, reaching their goals, staying on track, aligning, and having clarity on how to get through their day and build their business.
I love that. So when people start to work with you, do you find that they're really disorganized, or they're kind of organized but could use to take, that could stand to take it up another level?
So typically the word, I don't know if I've ever had a conversation with a client who doesn't use the word overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is the word. So it may not necessarily feel like totally unorganized, but it's a very stressful feeling, like you have a million different things you should be doing, you could be doing, you're wearing all the hats in your business, you start with these dreams of following your passion and creating work-life balance and making good money, but then you start your business and you're struggling with getting systems in place, training employees, marketing yourself, all while building a business and satisfying your customers. Mm-hmm. You have this ever-growing to-do list, and that is usually what keeps people just really paralyzed in some ways or just very overwhelmed.
Yeah, I know exactly what that's like. That can be really, really challenging. So do you feel like a lot of people that come to you have an idea of what it's like to get organized? Or do they not do it because they don't know what to do? Or are they just so overwhelmed they can't even see?
I think often we see the end point, right? We're like, no, I need to feel this way. I know I need to have some type of process or some type of structure, or like this just can't be that hard. Usually I tell people, if you feel like there has to be an easier way, chances are you're right. There is an easier way, but it's just navigating that, finding the simpler path. And then, because you're doing so many things as a small business owner, that, becomes so overwhelming. So how do you set aside the time to create those systems or put that structure in place or get that training or, whatever it may be? I think that is really where we get bogged down and confused and overwhelmed.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. So let's talk a little bit about workplace organization. So how can entrepreneurs streamline and eliminate distractions in their business? What kinds of things are out there that maybe we don't even see as distractions, but that might be keeping us from being more organized?
So one of the biggest areas of organization in your business is really organizing your time or structuring your time. Really managing your time well is going to guide you on everything that comes into your business, all the decisions you make, what to say yes to, what to say no to, how to delegate. I mean, it's sort of the foundation, I believe, of everything. And so, as like time is our most valuable asset in our business. There's never enough time to get it all done. So if you can, I think, that's what I really like to start with my clients is let's get clarity on what you want to do with your business. What's the direction? And then let's figure out how to manage your time, avoid those distractions that are pulling you away from your goals, and focus on the right things that are going to have an impact on growing your business, helping you make a difference in the world and help you make money. So some of those things, so there are always distractions, right? There's always things in our time that we feel like we should be doing everything, or it's so easy with social media to get pulled away, or with the latest, the shiny syndrome of like the new product or the Periscope or this and that. So it's really like, let's just stop, take a minute, take a step back and clarify what is your goal and what is like the one or two ways or initiatives that we're going to get there for right now. It doesn't mean you won't get to everything else, but let's just focus on a couple things right now, make those work. Feel good about them, master them, do them well, and then move on to one or two other goals. And that is really, I think, the kind of the key of getting things done, feeling accomplished, and moving your business forward.
Interesting. So how do you help people kind of figure out what their priorities are and how they need to structure the time that they have available to them?
So it's funny. I would say usually people, when you take a minute or a few minutes to really, be introspective about your business, most people really do know what their top priority is. But the priorities are, but they're not necessarily getting to those. So for example, you might know that marketing is my number one priority or sales is my number one priority right now, because without that constant flow of clients coming in or, making those sales, it's just not going to move my business forward. But what typically happens is that we get caught up on all the other minutia and details over the course of the day, like the emails and the interruptions and the social media and working on our websites and everything else, right? So what I help with managing their day is let's figure out what that top priority is. And chances are you really know it. And if not, we'll work on it and we'll pull it out. And then block out that first part of your day, like make it gold for working on that thing, that task, that project, that goal. So it could be just simply 1 hour. Say every single day on my calendar, I'm going to block off 9 to 10 to reach out to other blogs or to cold call for clients or whatever it may be, whatever that, let's say that marketing priority may be. And that way, when I get caught up in everything else that hits my way during the day, I will always feel accomplished. At the end of the day, I know I've moved my business forward. And so starting with that is critical. So I'd like to say you're earning your salary by noon. If you're working on that thing every morning, the compounding effect is so great. And you always feel you're always making money in that way. Like you're always moving your business forward. But when we don't block out that time, that's when we get caught up in all that other stuff.
That is such a good point to block out the time in your schedule, because I find that when I have little projects or even big projects to get done, I've got to block the time out in my calendar to make sure that no one else books in during that time. So I have big chunk of time to get my stuff done. And that applies as well to little stuff that you do every day to grow your business. So I think that's such a great idea.
Yeah, I think, and Holly, that's so great that you do that, because I think a lot of times what we end up doing is putting a due date or putting when a deliverable is due or when a blog needs to go out. We put that on the calendar. But what typically people aren't putting on their calendar is the time to work on all that stuff, just like what you said. And that is usually what is throwing them off course and stressing them out and overwhelming them, because that time to do the work hasn't been blocked out.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to get stuck doing it after hours or on the weekend if you don't make time to do it during your normal workday.
Absolutely.
I love that. So what other tips do you have for entrepreneurs to organize and streamline distractions? There's so many distractions out there.
Well, one is just, there's physical distractions, like things on your desk or in your office. So really streamlining, what is coming in the way of you staying focused. I know focus is so hard for all of us, right? Not only are we wearing so many hats, but there's so many dings and beeps and alerts and papers and all that stuff always thrown our way. So really is your physical workspace. Let's say if you have a desk, I suggest or really recommend eliminating everything else off your desk when you are working on a specific task or project. So don't get caught up, if you're listening to this, don't get caught up in buying bins and containers and labels and making it all perfect and using these like procrastination methods to get there. Just pick it up and put it on the floor next to you. Honestly, I just feel like just have that stuff away from you, because what it does, it mentally, visually, and emotionally distracts you. I can't tell you how many offices that I go to where people don't have elbow room. There's not elbow room, there's not room on their desk, or they see another piece of paper, they see some stickies, and your mind just starts wandering and you sort of have that self-proclaimed ADD all the time. So really just get those physical distractions off. Also, I still think, even though we have such a digital world, we tend to keep a lot of papers. Lots of papers, and 80% of the papers that we save are never looked at again. Ever.
Yes,
ever.
I totally agree.
Be diligent with that. Do you really truly need what you have? Chances are 80% of what you're keeping, a lot of it you literally will never go back to. And even of the stuff that you are keeping, there is access online, right? There are digital instructions or manuals or classes or trainings or, many other ways to retrieve that information. And there's so many great apps that you can just put on your phone to scan stuff in. There's no need for the big scanners anymore, for the handheld scanners. I have an app on my phone. I take a picture of a paper, and it's an Evernote app, and it goes into my Evernote. And so the paper is gone, the distraction is gone, and it's filed away. So, there are just more efficient ways to kind of get that paper away but still feel really very much under control of what you're saving.
That is such a good tip. And I know I'm by no means paperless, but I've done, I think, a fantastic job of reducing paper. Every time it kind of tends to accumulate, I will go through it every couple of months and clear stuff away, get rid of it, recycle it, whatever. But yeah, I cannot stand having papers on my desk.
I'm the same way. It's just such a cleansing feeling. And for anyone who's done this, whether it's been your desk or your closet or your car or your purse, how liberating that feels, right? Just like that small change, how much freedom it gives you, how much mental anxiety is just released immediately. So it's a wonderful exercise. And I love that you said you do it routinely, just to kind of keep that as a maintenance practice will just help you have that freedom all the time.
Yeah, and also being conscious of when we print things. Obviously for the environment, because that's very important, but also for the issue of clutter. So every time I print something, I think about, do I really need to print this? Can I keep it digital? Do I need it? How do I need it? How am I going to work with this information? And I really don't print things very often.
I agree. We have an association, the National Association of Professional Organizers here. And for some of our agendas and things, we email them out. We say, print them if you want to bring it, or just bring your laptop and look at it there. So it's the same thing. It's like, do I really want to be printing this? Do I have to make 20 copies? Can people just look at it on their phones or their laptops, or are there just other ways? So
what other kinds of things do you recommend that entrepreneurs declutter from their office? What other kinds of stuff can we get rid of to reduce those distractions?
Well, I think there's just a simpler way of actually keeping things that you need by you. So this isn't so much, I guess it is an elimination technique, but also I call this the arm's reach test. So everything that you need should be within your arm's reach. So those desks, typical, like more corporate offices that are an L shape.
Yeah.
It's like L to the side. So that is kind of the best way to organize your desk. So if you're at a home and you don't have that type of desk, you can just put a filing cabinet to make your L, right? So you have your desk, and then the left or the right, you'd have a small little filing cabinet. And on that, you might be able to put your printer, and in that filing cabinet should store or house any type of files that you need daily or maybe even weekly. And anything else that's not that you don't need access to all the time, don't even put it there. It's just distracting you. It's going to cause clutter. Maybe, there are papers we need to save for a longer period of time. Put them somewhere else. Go put them in a closet, in a long-term filing cabinet somewhere else, so that you really are, again, your space is just for what you need all the time. So right in front of you, you have a laptop. On your left or right, you have your files, maybe your printer, and that's it. Like it shouldn't be tons of stuff everywhere. But at the same time, because it's all in arm's reach, you will do the things you need to do at that time. You will put the file, you'll be more likely to file that paper when you need to. You'll be more likely to, just put things away when you have that space organized right within your arm's reach. It's so funny how much we'll procrastinate just because we have to get up off of our seat and go walk to another room or walk 3 feet away. We will just typically sit. And so, because, you're really into your work and you're focused. And so I think just the more you can create that workflow in your space, that things are just fluid. They're very fluid and within your arm's reach is really going to help you be productive and focused as well.
Yep, that is a great tip. I have a filing cabinet just to the left of my desk, and that's where I keep all my client notes, and it's got like 3 drawers in it for office supplies that I use, got the files. All I have to do is just kind of reach my arm over there and get the stuff out. Actually, I just touched it as I said that.
Yeah,
but it's so easy. It's all right there.
Yeah, you're a pro at this. It is exactly right, though. But that's just, again, if it's focusing on what do I really need. So in terms of eliminating, there's probably a lot of other stuff you'll see there. You're like, I don't really need this all the time. This can go somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm looking at a ton of stuff on my desk that I could move somewhere else, actually. I'm like, kind of organized, but also could make some adjustments. So yeah, I think that's a great tip. I'm looking at stuff now that I can definitely move. I've got one of those desks that has kind of a wall to the back of it. It's a corner desk. So It's got kind of shelves going up, which of course means that you can put stuff on the shelves or not. But I've got definitely more stuff here on this desk that I need. Yeah, so fantastic tip. So what other kinds of things can entrepreneurs do to stay organized and eliminate those distractions? I know we've also talked about digital things. So how can you keep your computer files organized and free of distractions?
Well, there are actually, blanking on this app. There are some apps that you can, I know for many people, social media is a big issue, kind of the Pinterest, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of them. And often we're using them for our business. So we have them up on our laptop on a tab. So there are apps, and I promise I'll get this to you for your show notes, that you can block the social media, or you can put different parameters on it. So for instance, you could say, I only want to have access to my social media for up to 1 hour a day. So really it won't let you get in there longer than that, which really helps you, put a parameter on it, not get lost in there. And it might help you budget your time. Okay, I'm only going to go in 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon, 15 minutes in the evening, or something like that. There are other ones that are similar that have different types of parameters. Maybe it's just, it will only let you bring it up at certain times, and you can schedule those times that allows you to have access. So I think that whole idea of being able to put that away until, you've earned it almost is a really great way to help us stay focused. But on the same note of the tabs being up, close all your other tabs, just shut them down while you are working on a specific task or project. I don't know about you, but I have very little willpower. So if I'm doing some work, if I'm working on a client project or a product or whatever I'm doing, and I'm thinking, right? I'm just thinking, my eyes are wandering. I see my Facebook tab up, or I see my email tab up. I just go click on it because I just have a moment of, just looking around thinking. And so that it becomes another distraction. So just turn that off.
That is such a fantastic tip. I get so overwhelmed if I have too many tabs open on my browser. I have to just have what I'm working on and then close all the other ones. And if I've got a couple of things open that I'm researching and I might need them for later, I copy and paste the URLs into an email and I boomerang the email to come back to me later because I can't handle having too many tabs open.
That is great. That's exactly the same stuff that I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I'm working on like writing a book, for example, I close the email tab on my browser. I do not even let it sit there. I just close it because I cannot get distracted on that because I'm working on a specific project. So if I've got something specific that I'm working on, email just goes away.
Yes. And I think another thing that's really great is setting expectations for other people, either on if you have a small team with working with you or for your clients, about the, when you're going to get back to them during the day. So what I mean by that is if you're going to block out your morning, like we talked about earlier, is I'm going to block out 1 or 2 hours every morning to work on that priority. That's going to move my business forward. Well, you can actually set, your email responder to say something like, hi, I check my emails between 12 and 5 or afternoon, after 12 o'clock every day or after 11. I'll get back to you as soon as I can by the end of the day. Or similarly on your voicemail. I check my voicemails at noon. You will always hear back from me by 5 p.m. Or, there are ways to just set those expectations and have better communication. And that is really helpful because I think there's always the fear of someone's going to email me, someone's going to call me. I didn't get back to them right away. And they're going to think I'm not giving them my attention. But when you set that expectation, it's very different. It takes away all that stress off of you. And for the client or the customer or for the team member, it's like, oh, okay, I understand. She's going to get back to me in another hour or two. It's a really, again, a very simple technique, just like shutting off those tabs, but it helps you stay focused and take that anxiety off of you.
Yes, and it stops you from being a slave to your emails, which in my first business I was, and I made a conscious decision not to be like that in this business. So yeah. Helped me really put boundaries on my emails and how often I check them and how I respond to them. And I think that's fantastic to let people know what your kind of schedule is for working in your autoresponder. That's great. So, Mridu, can you tell us a little bit about how other women entrepreneurs can work with you? What are the different options?
Absolutely. If you have an area in your business that leaves you feeling overwhelmed, right? You feel out of control, you feel either inefficient or disorganized, that's what I can help with. So I help with being more productive, managing your priorities, taking control of those ever-growing to-do lists, putting processes in place, aligning your workday to your goals, getting structure into your teams, your marketing initiatives. So if things just aren't flowing well and aren't fluid, you can work with me for a Rent My Brain session. And what that is a 2-hour session where we'll pinpoint a problem, we'll brainstorm, and we'll come up with a solution. So we'll strategize it, but we'll also actually do the work on the call as well.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah. So for example, I just started working with a consultant for a skincare company. And because she's wearing 100 hats, she has a hard time with client follow-ups. She's feeling very overwhelmed. Her emails are always piling up. So we outlined a strategy, but then we actually made it happen. Like we downloaded a software that I recommended. We outlined the steps of, what would that process look like? We created the process. We created the checklist. We detailed a template for her to follow up with everyone. We captured the client information on a spreadsheet and got everything on her calendar. So we actually, it's a high level strategy, but it's really important to me to feel that people are walking away with actually something to show with a plan, and that I've just worked with so many coaches that sometimes I feel like we have all these ideas and we brainstorm, but then and I'm really excited and I get off and I'm a little bit paralyzed again because there's so much to do. So I really try to do it in a way that we come up with ideas, let's brainstorm it, and then let's actually start making some of this happen and start creating this workflow or structure or process or whatever it may be.
That's fantastic because that way they can't even get tripped up on, oh, she told me to do this, but it's not working or I don't know how, or you get it done during the call.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite ways to work with clients. I also always offer a free consultation just to make sure we're a good fit before committing to the Rent My Brain session.
Great. And you have a couple of downloadable free offerings as well on your website, don't you?
I do. I have one for your audience at lifeisorganized.com/Holly. And it is the 21 powerful productivity hacks for your business. So I would love if if your audience, if that's something that sounds like something they could use, then come on over to that link.
Great. Definitely sounds interesting. I'm going to check it out as well. I love being organized, and I get so stressed out by disorganization. So clutter, stuff that's out of place, it really, I can tell that it really affects me. So looking forward to downloading that and getting some more tips. So Mridu, do you have any women business mentors? Are there any women entrepreneurs who inspire you, or perhaps other organizational women?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm sure this has been mentioned many times, but the way I even got into feeling confident about growing my business and coaching, consulting was all through Marie Forleo, who I know is an icon, but she really, just love her style and her sincerity and just her ability to be herself and be multi-passionate. And then my business coach is Vasavi Kumar, who I can't say enough about, who I absolutely love. And, and a lot of actually some of the style that I was talking about, kind of doing the work, was a lot of what I do with her. So again, I think she's just helped me with that, having had many coaches over time, that she's someone who's really brought that idea to light for me of actually doing the work with your clients. And then of course I have to shout out to my fellow sisters and colleagues at NAPA, which is the National Association of Professional Organizers. So not particularly one person, but just all the amazing entrepreneurial women that I've met through there, and the collaboration we have at that group, and the productivity experts, and just the love and support for one another. So it's a great place to find out more information if, anyone's ever interested in organizing.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so Mridu, where can people find you online?
So my website is lifeisorganized.com and /pro, P-R-O, lifeisorganized.com /pro. And I'm really active on Facebook, Life is Organized.
Excellent. Great. Well, we will take a look for you online and connect. So thank you so much for joining us today. You have fantastic tips on reducing distractions. I love that. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Great. And thank you for listening. And remember to visit hollywharton.com /163 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed, at hollywharton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.